There are so many cultural things that also affect what we do. Whether we like it or not, there are cultural issues and they are contextual. And when we want to force it sometimes, it becomes a little bit of problem. So in many of programs like this, weekends like this, sometimes I hear my host reverends, they know you better than I do. And we say, to kowa katashi, kama matanka kuzuna tare. And I'll be sitting quietly and I'm a good observer. I learn a lot from watching. So I'm a good observer. You will see matter like Allah. And you see some of them, they are forcing it. Already I've seen something. If your women in the Zumunta are saying Tashiki Jawajam Babangwane, and you are saying no, to understand that there are issues in family is very easy. Listen, Niba Megulbamani. But if I walk into your family, it's very easy for you to know. And there are times, Nima, I'm human, my wife would do like this. You say, Kai Benjida in the ka answer Gabon, but I say I had to go in the answer. Can I wish? And it's the same thing, it's very easy. But when your heart is not into something you will not know. So I've always learned, okay, let me just go, we're in an African setting. So I changed methods. I don't do this method that dole kazona de matanka. Now let me give you another contextual issue and a cultural issue. Reverend Ima, do you know our wives who complain that Pakwariki Hanumu, Ngamfada Wajan Seminakaji, Gaskiani. Okay, try it tomorrow. Kunga answer maza. By the time you start walking in terminus, try to hold your wife's hand and see what will happen. I don't know if you have gone there. Any man can testify to that. Women, can you testify to that too? In a chicken kaswane ko a angwa. By the time you hold her hand like this, kumfara tafia, za ku wuce angon kuwa? Ka ga an fara wani haka. Kana haka, ana haka. Sai ga nan sake. Shi baka ga muna cikin mutane ba. Ashe ba rike hannu a cikin mutane. So I have noticed that some of those templates we use are actually Western templates. They are not seen, so don't think they are sinful. Now, there are couples who, when the husband gives the wife flower, in fact, she will fly to Venus and Mars and Jupiter in excitement. But I have seen couples who try to buy flower because he went for one couple's meeting. They say, Kuba mata yonko flower. And then he went and bought flower. The technical flower and Anna Nyungwa kana siya flower banza. First she asked him, now anika siya. When he mentioned about it, Kabata kudi, she stole him with it. So your love language is actually different. What my wife wants is not what your wife will learn. And so I find it very hard to bring my own love language to Reverend Ima or to Pastor Hans there. There are women that when you open doors for them, when ka bude in ka kulle sai ka juye haka ka zo ka bude a Africa kar ki fita bana ki zo na zai wuce tafiya barki. So you see, sometimes we read Western books and try to bring them into our couple life, and a lot is not working and it's causing a lot of frustration. Maybe our grandchildren will do that because the culture of the West has affected our children so much. If you agree with what I say, just do like this. All this shawarma. Everyone, Nima Abani shawarma. Let me tell you, a real African woman that wants to keep family going, in kagia mata shawama nawa ne, za ta zo na ta kiga ce mudun dawa nawa kenan, mudun masara nawa, shawama banza. That's the truth. We operate in ignorance, and it has been a problem. And Wasuma Taeng, I know we were eating somewhere with my wife, and I saw the lady when they brought that thing. She opened it there. She tabu the chicken abu. Taduba. We had our own table with our kids there, and we tabu the sinagatan attack. So me one cabbage, cabbage, a building. She got angry. So you see, if you take a template, I was writing one time for joint project on Sunday school in Christian Education Office, and then Sunday school materials for adults. And I told Adina, one of the white women there, I said, you are writing with a Western context. And our context and culture will not permit what you are writing. And in that Sunday school material that year, before EQUA began, so began the EQUA children ministry, so we had to use the joint project material. So I was part of writing and editing and doing family. So, and I said to her, they had something they call hot dog. You know hot dog? Why I tell you hot dog? Just hot dog. Now, what do you expect of hot dog? Translate hot dog, let me hear. To Hausa. Nama. Nama kare. Okay. And then they had hot dog there, and I was editing the material. I said, look, this Sunday school material will go to Equa Church that is in one village. Imagine a secondarian teaching Sunday school. How will you translate it to the children in the class? You know, elder here, Gashia Chue Kareme Zafi. Naman Kareme Zafi. But obviously, you know, that is not what it means. So, first thing you must understand, and that is why I'm saying, I find it very hard to say, in Africa, we are in church, but yet we've not allowed Christ to affect our culture. So today we have people who are in church. I remember when Reverend came to my house, we were talking about those issues. You know, people are Christians, but they still have culture as the center of their homes. And listen, it's not that every African culture is bad, but you discover that what guides even our marriage is actually culture. And we are getting couples now who want to live by Western norms. Our context does not permit some of those things. So you must first of all decide with your wife and your husband what will be the guiding principle of our home. Now let me tell you, we finished our marriage and then we spent I think 5 days on our honeymoon. And when we came back from honeymoon, and I discovered that my wife is from Bauchi, grew up in Bauchi, and spent half of her life here in Jos. And my wife has never gone to their village. Is somebody hearing me? My wife is Basaya, or is it Zar? So let me not call Basaya Zar. And then here I am also from where I came from. I am not from Plateau, I'm not from Jos, but my grandparents have been here. So I'm the third generation of my family here. So I know this place more than I know my village. I've never stayed in that village for more than 1 week. I've never stayed 1 week in my village. So when we came back from honeymoon, the first thing, God has been helping me looking into scripture. And as we were preparing for marriage, and one day I heard the Spirit minister to my heart. He said, what will be the core foundation of your marriage? And that's the first question I'm throwing to a couple here. And the major thing we'll be looking at now today are two things I sent to Reverend. Good marriages are becoming bad. Then the question is, why are good marriages becoming bad? And a quote, and I discover our time will not permit us to do all the things I intended. So I was skipping a lot of things. The definition of good marriage, what makes a good marriage? Is it because you wore good suit on that day? Is it because God bless you with a big house in Rayfield or in Goratop that makes, or in Asokoro? Is that what makes, or you are using your kitchen, your husband has decked your kitchen with gas, you don't use Itachi again? Is that what makes marriage good? But when we're looking at good marriage, what makes them bad? And then we look at creating solution. You must create an atmosphere, and I call it a thriving atmosphere around your marriage. So we return, and I asked my wife, I say, you are from Bauchi, I am from Kaduna, grew up in Jos. In fact, I don't know anything about Kaduna. All my life is here. I don't know anything. My children are here. So my children are the fourth set, from my grandfather to my parents, myself, and my children now. You see, we have like Sarah Gudahudu Kenanan. And I asked her a question, what are we going to be living our life on? Because there are some people, if you tell them to sit together now, their culture says you can't sit like that in the public. So, Reverend, however you say this word, I have seen it. Some people will never stand up, they will never move. And even if they sit, that number the gap. And you see some women, even when they sit close to their husband, there is this awe of respect and honor. And you see immediately she sit close to him, say, okay, haka. The man just become a king. There's a lot of laughing here. Yeah, that's what it means. So there are shiftings and a lot of things we must do. And then if you have a wife that also want to pick up Western life to bring in, you are going to have a lot of issues. So here's what we did. The first thing we did was to pick up a Bible right from Miango Rest Home, those days before we came back home. And then we said, we are going back home. This moon we have climbed. No matter how we stay in this moon, we will come back to earth. And on earth, the devil is already there. We are going to face war. So when you go to honeymoon, you feel like that with honeymoon, you can't be staying there forever. The reality of life must come. You know, some of you are 20 something years in marriage here, maybe 30, 40, some are 2, 3, 5. You must come down from that moon. And so we agreed in our honeymoon that we will make this, it's sola scriptura. We say we will make this the guiding principle and the foundation of our marriage. That whatever you bring from your culture will be weighed on this. You want to go and sit close to your husband? Thank you very much. God bless you, ma. Please, if you feel like sitting close to your husband and wife, it will help me a lot, but please do it. Yes, because I get to a point where there's a thing I will do that you have to know it. Yes, so I didn't want to push it because the Reverend knows his context very well. Please, but very wonderful. All this to rent in the Nikki is to prepare your heart to say, look for your husband. But I like your boldness. You stood up. You wanted to sit close to your man's seat. Please, those group of men that are friends, today we'll break that friendship a little bit because the main woman is there with you. Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Hong, thank you. Yes. Now, I'm trying to prepare the atmosphere because I have seen what this has caused. Do you know that maybe perhaps we also have to do a couples weekend, our denomination, we've started doing a lot of this, but I tell you, there are a lot of things we need to also clear. Now, you see, there are women who are also here struggling with their husbands who will never come to church. Don't think that by doing this, we have exposed you. We have just made you feel very unspiritual. No, we are not saying sit with your husband to make a ridicule and a caricature of your home. But sincerely, I feel for those who are here and you have a struggling husband at church. You are still struggling with him to come to church on Sunday, not to talk about on a Saturday evening. I want you to feel very comfortable. And that's why God brought you into his life. And I want to appreciate you because some of people know that I was in one church and the Reverend told me that every year so I want just telling you because out of the experience, these are the things we are seeing. So I don't know how God will help us in this in church. So please, if your husband is not here or your wife, and by this decision sitting, don't think that you are alone and don't feel embarrassed and don't feel we are trying to ridicule you. Nobody has brought us here to ridicule ourselves. And if you have been doing this with your wife, sitting together with your wife is nothing that will cause you pain. That should be the greatest joy you can ever have. So, first question for you. After your marriage, after your wedding, what did you establish as the standard of your home? Issues will come. What will be the final point that breaks culture, that breaks ideology, that breaks your perspective, and you have one common ground to settle unsettled issues with? And for us, we decided that this will be the foundation of our home. That even when children start coming, when issues go beyond culture, the differences we have, the perspective we have concerning issues, there is every right for you to talk and your wife say no, but yadaba. In the account of Ghana. So if my wife that is Zar and me there is double identity, what will I do with this? So we bring the issue and see what is the Bible saying. Because you married a believing person. And that is why scripture says, Ba abundi hada haske de menene. You see, the problem begins for some couples is that you took some biblical injunctions for granted. You connected with people who do not bear the same ideology, they do not bear the same belief system with you. I tell you, the first 10 years of your marriage will be trouble. For you to settle, all those differences will have manifested themselves in your marriage, in your home, and that means the foundation is faulty. The Bible says when the foundation is broken, what can the righteous do? And most of the weddings we are struggling with, I said to the young people yesterday that if you will be sincere, you have opportunity now that you can have a singles retreat or seminar in a church. It prepares you. Now here's the flow of events. It's a family weekend. How do we get family? You can't just sit down alone as a bachelor and say, I have family. We saw yesterday that it begins from a single life. Genesis chapter 2 will tell us clearly. So you read the first 4 chapters of the Bible, it forms the biblical foundation for every Christian home. So marriages are gotten by 2 singles who have agreed to come together to live till Jesus come or till death do them part. And when the agreement with these people, it tells us simply what Amos will say, that 2 cannot work together until they what? They agree. So the culture of agreeing begins when you are a single person. And when you agree and develop agreement while being a single, it is easy for you to always agree with the other persons. I'll be speaking on little things that you have forgotten. So when you don't know how to agree with people, outside marriage in your single life, bringing somebody into your life and agreeing will be a long dialogue without an end. So it becomes an open-ended dialogue. I want to ask you some questions now, and I want you to be very sincere with these questions. And maybe you must have heard me in a wedding somewhere taught this, but for me it's crucial and it's foundation to everything. Now just be quiet. I will read the questions, and I want you and your husband that you are sitting together be sincere. Some of you, your heart will palpitate. Some of you may feel guilty. I love what you said, Reverend, because a lot of things may want to make you feel guilty. That is why we are having this weekend, to bring you out, not to leave you with your guilt, to bring a hope for you. Now listen to this question. Number 1. If you have heard couples around you, friends, neighbors, younger people, but couples who have made statements like this, just do your hand like this, and then we'll put it down. Is that okay? I'm not saying it's you, but you have heard it. Have you heard couples saying this? 1 or 2 of them saying, if I knew you were like this, I wouldn't have married you. Please, friends, I didn't say it's you. If you have heard it. And so we ask him question. Very good. If I knew you were like this, I wouldn't have married you. Can you see marriage have started exposing some things now? Listen, let me tell you again. All that is going on with you and your wife is that marriage is exposing you. I tell young people, all this, I want marry, you are joking. I say, don't worry. Marriage will expose everything about you. If you are a lazy man, the woman you bring in your life will say, and that's why when you hear couples fighting, If you are their neighbor and you put your ears like this, you will know the secret of both of them. Even if they wake up in the morning and say, they know. Marriage will expose everything you have done before. And that is the scare about marriage. It will expose you. Please, if you are not washing your boxers very well, marriage will expose you. One person in life will know. If you have been using perfume to cover all your stench, your wife will know. You hear this statement? If I knew you were like this, I wouldn't have married you. And for couples who you hear words like this, some secret things are beginning to open up. Have you heard this statement before? I regretted ever marrying you. Okay, thank you. Kuda bakujiba maybe za kufara jianzu. Amamuka munji. Number 3. This is another serious one. If I will come back in another world, I will never marry a person like you. You know, in couples we will laugh. You know me, I don't joke with singles. With singles I'm very hard. But with couples, how can I be hard with you? Is it not you that carry her? So I should just rejoice with you. So we will laugh, but we'll get somewhere. This one is very serious. Let me tell you where I got this one from. And I took it all through. I will call the person's name. It's Reverend Botamoti, Professor Botamoti. He shared with me in one leadership class we're in. And he told us, pastors, don't joke with your family. And whenever you are in class, you say your wife is sick, your husband is sick. Baba knows. He will tell you, Fita class, go and take care of your wife. I'm the lecturer, I can give you A and nobody will talk to me. Go and take care of your wife. And he said to us that he went to our Equa DCC to do what we are doing this weekend. And that one, the DCC called him to speak to Martin Pastochi. So you see the context. And he took a paper and he wrote this question. If you will come back in other words, will you marry your husband? He didn't say, will you marry Reverend or Pastor? He analyzed his little paper when he went back to his room for the first day. That was his introduction. He says 70% of the women wrote no. I'm not talking about elders. He is dealing with pastor's wife in a DCC. So even pastor's wife are saying, if I'm going to come back in another world, the kwala naka, the kato uniform, friends, it struck my heart. So I'm telling you where I got this. And I was not even married then. And I began to say, so as a minister of God, my wife, so what about people who are just in the pew? And I'm asking you this question today. If God will create another world, will you look at that man sitting close to you and the woman, both of you sitting close now? Will you say, I will marry this woman again? I don't want you to answer me, but I want you to go back home with that question. Remember, some are already saying, if I knew you were like this, I wouldn't have married you. A lot of people enter Equa Good News. People are members of Equa Good News Anglo-Just every Sunday, even before service. Some people told themselves that. Church. And a showers of blessings. Friends, what is going on in church? Listen, I do a lot of research. The strength of every church lies on the families of that church. The spiritual health, the spiritual tenacity and the fervency of all the families in Equa Good News Anglo-Just is an indication of the strength of the church. No matter the instruments you put in this church, no matter how you paint this church, no matter how excellent by Rudick's of itineraries and routines, your Sunday service is excellent, that does not indicate that your church is spiritually vibrant. Hello? We are getting serious. Hello? The indication of every spiritual church is that a husband and a wife will walk into church and their children, and there is a vibrancy that comes from the realm of the spirit. And that's what makes a church a church. Is your family. If not, if you don't work on the family, and when we're talking about family, we're talking about the couple, the church will be filled with hypocrites. And I want to encourage you. How will you answer this question? Will you look at the woman and say, "Idan zan dawo duniya zan aure ki"? Friends, it's a difficult question. But today I pose that to you. Because we have heard a lot of people saying, "Allah raba ni da kai." Even before the man dies or the woman is dead, he say, "Allah raba ni da kai. Abunda ya hada ni da kai ina jira, I'm looking for a day when God will sever this marriage." Now look at the next question. If this is what I will leave you to ponder on, I have always told people, the two of you know what is the problem of your marriage. See, forget it. Sometimes people come to my office and say, "Look, sir, this is happening, but Kukuma is what you decide to tell me or tell your reverend. We can't pull these things out of you." And that is why kunji iya musna ce ba harkar namiji mata da miji ba amina ne ba shiga is the truth. But because we are spiritual people, fathers, we only remind you. When I was praying today, God is saying, if there is a couple issue here, they know where the fire began. Reverend, we don't know. Don't you hear Hananiah and Sapphira? When they came before the word of God, they have already planned both of them or what to say. Even when you want to treat couples, you see, when they go back and say, "Kay wa to kaji gia ma reverend abun na fada ba, ya ga ka gia mishi wannan abun, da ka fada mishi sama sama." See people who are fighting, you know. After counseling, you know, they go back home and say, "Ke me yasa kin je kin fada kin wuce gona da irin." The reverend ya tambaya ki bi ki ce koyi, amma kin je kina tattauna abun da bai kamata ba. Mun je next time kai ki fada ki bar mana wannan. People so they decide on what to tell and they are fighting. Kabar harkar namijin namiji. One young boy, I was somewhere talking on a weekend like this in one of our Equa churches, and I say, "Sir, in the couple, in the singles, I say, sir, in fact, forget this thing." He said, "Our father will be fighting, but in the night when they enter the room, some girls sun tashi su mu da muna ce baba baya ba da kudin school fees ayi daru, sai ka ji maman ta ce kai ku kwantar da hankalinku ku bar babanku." They just entered the room. Can I ask you a question to see what marriage is, the spiritual? Do you know no matter how some couples are fighting, they still have sex in the night? That's why we drove these singles, so that they don't hear me. They say, "Anna, I'm going to have sex at church." But you, there's nothing. Even some of you sitting here, duk da fada na zo ci to kiya kuri ko. Ku ji rabar ya ce ga ciki. Ba da gaske ne. I have counseled people like that. I'm sure you have. A family, you are trying to mend them in a church, and then you see the woman getting pregnant. Ya aka yi. Listen to me. Listen to me, sir. You are worried. No matter what problem you have, the two of you know the problem. And if you want to stop it, you will stop it. That's why I see some couples, they come and say, "Reverend, kada ka damu da zuwa gidanmu, ka bar mu kawai. Za mu shirya kayan mu." Haka ne go? It's easy. You know. Now quickly, because of time, here another question. Here, just ask this. I want to leave this with you. If you hear some little questions, I tell you, zai ba ku kunya. You will tell yourself the truth that muna rudin kam. Here is another question. How did I even end up marrying you? If you have heard that one, do like this. How did I even end up marrying you? Yeah, well, thank you, I know. They are researchable questions. Here the next one again. You deceived me into marrying you. You deceived me into marrying you. And not both of you. Have you heard that one among even church people? Okay, fine. Here the next question. You have cheated me. Kachucheni. Couples are saying kachucheni. Now, don't even raise your hand again. Think in your heart. I was not saying to come and catch those who are saying it. I'm just only giving a poser for you that as you sit down in this family, we can think about it. Friends, I tell you, it's shameful, it's alarming to hear what comes out in a Christian, I put quote, when fight begins in couples. You hear people say, Kachucheni, Kazukato Cheni, Karu Desu Babana. Well, I had one that said, Kadubeni, Bahaka Nikeda, Bakazu Kasa Nawala, Agidam Babana Nafiaka Kipa. I say, wow, this young man has problem. Now here the next one. You destroyed my future. You destroyed my future. Next one, I have no future with you. I wish this marriage ends. Next one, I am living in hell in this marriage. Next one, I rather die than continue living like this in a marriage. You are a thorn in my flesh. And let me round up with this one. It says, these questions. It says, I am carrying my cross. Do you know some people's marriage is cross? You hear them talk. They say, friends, marriage is not a cross. And this tells me that Christians do not understand, a lot of Christian couples do not understand the biblical foundation for Christian marriage, and they have married. And I hear the place becoming quiet. It means if we tell ourselves the truth. I've changed the pattern at which we do this family and couple talk and single talk. We must touch foundational issues. Maybe there are people here who are guilty. You've mentioned these statements because of a little pain that has come into your marriage. Your good marriage is becoming bad. These are indicators of marriages going bad. Have you mentioned a word like that before? And you are proud to tell people that it's my cross. I first heard this from my own elder brother. I was a student in Zaria and they had problem with his wife. I had to counsel them. The Nazuna Chemishi Yaya Akai Mukuwana Auren. Don't worry. My marriage is in trouble. And you can see you came for weekend from Zaria and you can see the way. So sorry, Kagaba Abincha Agida Kayakuri. And I was wondering, how can this happen? He said, it's my cross. And I was a young man growing. That's my most eldest brother, that I have 4 people in between me and him. What example am I getting? And he said to me, cross. That never left me. And today is part of what I'm doing. I learned from, you see, we get you. And I started searching Bible. I said, no, marriage cannot be cross. How can your wife and your husband be a cross you are carrying? God did not create marriage to be a cross you carry. Cross is the symbol of pain. Ask Jesus. Ask the Roman people who made cross. Cross was humiliation. Cross was a disgrace, the most painful, excruciating pain. But why are you, couples in good news, you are telling, and neighbors are hearing you saying your husband is a cross, and I've heard young Christian couples say, it's not your fault. There's a lot of pain. Has any of these statements come out of your mouth? Please, I want to ask of you, can we rise on our feet? And I want us, just hold the hand of your wife, she's close to you. This is the first session. Hold the hands of your wife or your husband. And I want you to sincerely pray in your heart. Friends, we're not here to do a laughing galore. We're here to ask God to help us. Because if God will help couples in this church will move ahead. You will become examples to the singles in this church. Every Sunday you come to church and park your car. The singles we dealt with yesterday say, look at example of Christian home. Singles are looking for couples and families to say, can you be our mentor? Friends, I'm not bragging, but I've seen young people come to our home. They just ask us, what is the secret of you living with your wife? We're not perfect, but as much as we can, we want to put some things. Maybe now I've just put some guilt inside of you. But can you just pray and say, God, I have spoken to my wife. I have shared this. I've heard my wife spoken this. Let me tell you, some of the wives that are here, these are the little words you spoke. And if I'm going to interview your husband, he will say, let me tell you, anything you see a husband does or a wife is as a result of a statement uttered by one of you. And one part took it and he changed what he's doing. He said, regret aurana. And you see the man yarikida. I want you to pray. Whether your husband is here or not, whether your wife is not here, but just pray and be sincere to yourself and say, God, have mercy upon me. Forgive me. I was in pain and I made that statement. I said I regretted ever marrying you. I said you cheated me. I've told my husband or my wife that if I will come back to this world again, I would never want my paths to cross your path. Please just pray. You don't have to be vocal. I want to maintain your secrecy of your home, but I want you to pray. You must not even say it so that your wife will hear or your husband. But can you sincerely humble yourself before God and say, God, have mercy upon me? And I tell you, by this prayer we are praying, we have started dealing with some issues that want to change this, your good marriage, into a bad one. Friend, you are guilty. If I knew you were like this, I wouldn't have married you. I regretted ever marrying you. If I will come back to this world again, I will never marry a person like you. How did I even end up with you? I should have married and you mention another person's name to your husband. See, Dana Senima, Dana Aure Victor, Dana Aure Julie, you know, these are the things that are turning our good marriages into bad ones. And when your husband hear you say a thing like this, he still suspects you that maybe you are still wishing you were with your ex. You have cheated me. God has not brought you to cheat this woman or to cheat this man. You have destroyed my future. God has not brought you together to destroy each other's future. God has brought you to walk out and bring the best out of your spouse. I wish this marriage ends. Brother, your wife has told you she wishes the marriage ends. You have a great work to do. I'm living in hell in this marriage. I'd rather die than continue like this. You are a thorn in my flesh. I'm carrying a cross. Our Father, we are asking that you have mercy upon us as a couple. We are already probing into the issues why good marriages are becoming bad. God help us. Dear Lord, help us. I want you to pray this second prayer. It's a prayer of help. You have made a confession, pray and ask God to help. Just say, God, help me. Help me. Forgive me and help me. Put your words of affirmation in my mouth. Thank you. In Jesus' name. We can take our seats. Friends, I go through this first session. I feel the pain inside of me too. Words are powerful. You create the atmosphere of your marriage by your words. Pains may cause you to speak. You know, those of you with tears, that's what God is doing. I always tell myself, those tears you have, God is healing your home. Sometimes as a Bible student, someone was asking me that all this doctorate that you carry, what are you doing? I said, I find it very hard. Because sometimes I stand here, I want to begin to do exegesis of scripture. God will say, these people, they don't have the time to hear you. They are in pain. They are looking for solution. I'm not in a seminary to prove to professors that I am also a doctorate holder. No, it's not my own. God said that those are not the things. The church is in pain. People, the Lord wipe your tears. You see, I'm getting emotional because people are wiping tears in their eyes. And let's tell ourselves the truth. The Christian home is in pain. We don't have right atmospheres around our home. Every good seed is not working again. I don't mind saying amen here. Both of you, you want to work it out, you can work it out. Any couple that is here, you need God's help, God will help you. Why did God bring you together? The future you had 20 years ago when you got married, when you were leaving that pulpit, you were saying, God, we're going to make it. How did you convince the lady to marry you? You gave her a future, a hope. And today she's saying that my future has been shattered. Something is happening somewhere. So sad to find out that we have statements like this around our marriages. And how do you expect your marriage to thrive? How do you expect to have a blissful home? When these are the words that are in our marriages. This is what you tell your wife she's in the bedroom. You say, I regret it. You have cheated me. And then you walk out and come to church. Come on. How do you want that woman to walk into the same church with you? Woman, you have punctured the ego of your man with these words. You look at your husband, say, I regretted marrying you. Man, listen to me. There are two E's. The man is dealing with his ego, and the female is dealing with her emotions. This statement crushes the emotion of a woman who is willing to help you. If you call her a cross you are carrying, women are emotional, sir. You should know it. You puncture the emotion of your wife too much. Wife, hear me. Your husband's ego, you break his ego. He goes out, he cannot lift his shoulder among men like him because you told him, you are a thorn in my flesh. Listen to me and listen to what God is saying. Please go back home tonight. I don't care how you hate your wife or you hate your husband. There's a great future for you people. God never made mistake of giving you this woman. If he had, he loves you so much. 15 years ago you got married, he would have scattered that marriage. What is the problem? What is the danger when we begin to have words like this? 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 7. I want a male to read that. And then Proverbs chapter 14 verse 1 and 2. I like a female to read that. Why do good marriages become bad? Every one of you sitting as couples, I want you to think about the day you got married. Was there sadness or joy? And that's why we told young singles yesterday, whoever you bring into your life, you open the door of your heart, that person will give you joy or sadness. That person will lift you up or pull you down. And now you are seeing it. Anybody you bring into your life, just know that these paradoxes must happen. And I want to lay this foundation again. Scriptures. 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 7. I want a male to take that. And I want a woman to get ready to read Proverbs chapter 14 verse 1 and 2. Then we begin to look at solutions. Husbands. Did any man hear this verse? So listen, I want all the husbands here to listen. So a man's prayer can be hindered. And you know what can bring hindrance to a man's prayer? According to Peter. Let me give you a little thing when you do your biblical work very well. You see, whether scholars are saying Paul was married or he was not married, but if from the way Paul will speak about family, you get to have that intonation that he may not have stayed with a woman like Peter did. Because Paul would just say in Ephesians and Colossians, husband, love your wife, and he moves to other issues. But when Peter was speaking, and we know that Peter had a mother-in-law, because Jesus walked into the house and he healed his mother-in-law. So Peter had a mother-in-law, so it means he has a wife. And then in the course of Paul, we did not hear Paul even mentioning. Paul would just say, husband, love your wife. And then, but here Peter says, firstly, he said, love your wife, confirming the same thing the Spirit is saying. But because he has lived with a woman, he said, live with her with what? Understanding that your prayers may not be hindered. Now you understand what Paul was saying. He preferred that young singles should remain one. So you see, the day you get married, how you treat your wife will determine the open heavens you get. That's what Peter is saying. So marriage can lift you up for more open doors for answered prayer. Or the woman you pick and you wore suit and dance with her that day. You just dance outside the church, they're saying Kadauka, and you're doing your friends like this. And you go and meet one of your best man and say, To, Baba Bunajiranka. We have said those things. But do you know this ring in your hand? Peter is saying that this woman you carry, sir, how you are treating this woman will open doors or will shut doors for you. And I'm praying that a man here today, this verse will speak to your heart. And that's why you hear men today say, in fact, I used to get contracts before I married. I used to get contracts, but immediately I married this woman. Everything just what? Stop. I'm counseling a young man, and then he came. The woman located my house. The only first time he brought her when she was going, and she's not from Plateau. He's met somewhere, he went to sing, and then she was in that church there, one of our Equa churches in Nasarawa. He married her and brought her to Jos, and 2 days to their wedding, he now brought her to my house. When problem began, she traced my house. She even went to Mr. Ali. She said she left home 6 a.m. and got to my house around 11. 3 hours of looking for my house, or 4 or 5 hours. And she said, the young man said, you didn't bring anything to my house. The first week we got married in Rayfield, they stole everything from my house. See, you're a bad luck. Are you hearing this thing? Bad what? Luck? Hear what Peter is saying. Sir, listen to me. How do you treat your wife? Now, Peter brought a metaphor of vessel. And we see what Peter said. He said, if you are a husband, respect your wife. And if you see, when you put culture, women need not to be respected, they need to respect us. And that's why I made the first statement. If you want to be a biblical husband, completely be it. He said, respect them. But you see, some cultures don't believe women should be respected, right? They say it's the woman that should always be showing respect. And he said, live with them with understanding. Now, what is the understanding that you must live with a woman? Women go through menstrual cycle every month. And if you meet a medical person and ask what this thing does to a female every month, he will tell you. The pain sometimes I see my wife go through. The pains I've seen young people going through, young girls. Those things are emotional. And that is why the female is made more emotional. And they go through this pain every month. And I've observed something, when women are going through their menstrual cycle, they become a little bit aggressive. I don't know how many men have taken advantage of that. Women, you may not know, but it's there. The pain becomes so much. And some of them, they don't even desire anything. And you can see from the very moment you marry a woman and she becomes pregnant, she hates the perfume that used to attract her before you got married. Hello? Don't you know she hates the perfume? Before when you come, she say, Kai to Laren Kanena the kanshi make you. And she takes in now. The same kanshi make you has become an irritating thing to her. Women are highly emotionally wired. And so you as a husband must understand what she is living in. It's a psychological thing. But you see, if you are just saying, Ketashi, you know, there are women, when you got married, they used to fetch water. You know, fetch water. They fetch water in bucket, they clean the house. But the day the seed of the man gets into her, she doesn't even cook again. And she's begging you, say, Koza Kadafa Mana Binchio, Mene? Na bachelor, na dafa binchi, na aure, na dafa binchi. But marry, na marry, inkiba. You see, she's emotionally down. Listen, I tell most young people, the day your wife take in, young couples, I tell them, the day she becomes pregnant, she does not need to adjust. You must adjust. But you see, most oftentimes we say, Keki tashibana, akan kinang fara chiki, ki shara, ki komai. I remember when my wife got pregnant, I think it was the first week after marriage. Do you know I fetch water? I will wake up in the morning, that 5-bedroom, I will fetch water and fill all the toilets before I go to jets. And I was doing my MDiv then. And that time they were running MDiv like British style. You will write paper every week, 12 pages, presentation. I will wake up like this, pack paint bucket, like this. So check a toilet in Gama, one mama close to me. She's because I didn't have a fence then. She said, Pastor, me matan kana daki. But I think Pastor bane kana daukarwa. Kai be kamata ba. Amarya ka tausa sa ka zama mai wahalar dibarwa. I said ni na aureta. And I kept fetching water. I will fill all the bathrooms and the toilet. I will mop the kitchen. And by 8 o'clock, I'm running to jets. Adjustment. How can I expect a woman who already baby is growing? And before she took in, I can see how courageous and a workaholic she was. This is what Peter is saying. Understanding. He said they are the weaker vessels. What does it mean to be weaker vessels? Have you ever gone to a potter's shop? You know there are different pots. Now let me ask you a question. Let me get a volunteer, please, quickly. One volunteer. You can come because you are in the front. Now, see what Peter is saying. He was using the metaphor of vessels. Tukuyenda anyishi da lakayo. The one that aka yishi wata uku de wuce. This one, the left naka shine aka yishi yo. Nanang shine aka yishi 3 months. I want you to carry it and give to pastor. Take the 2 of them and give to pastor. Start with anyone. Or you can start with this one 3 months. Come here and take the 3 months on and give to Reverend. Then the one there is the one that was made today. So let me have responses. What did you notice? Quickly, time. Yes, sir. You carried what? Okay, one. Very good. You carry gently at the back, sir. The new one is more what? Fragile than the. Okay, very good. Yes, from this side. What did you observe in his own approach to the 2 vessels? Anybody? Yes, ma'am. This one was fast. Did you see how he carried it? How did you carry it? And how many of you noticed, Reverend, when he was collecting the first one? Now go there. He sat down, collecting it. Now the question is, why did he sat down and then why did he rush it? Because it's what? It's stronger. So if you call that one a stronger vessel, what will you call this one? That's what Peter is saying. Treat them like this one that was just created today. Now when you were carrying, did you see how he was carrying this one? What did you do? There is gentleness, there is care, there is respect. And then he carried it. Did you say he was walking? So imagine if we had real one. I went to one church, I carried 2 real ones. And if you see the man, and I say, hankali, hankali, and then it's the same thing. So Peter said, that is how you should treat your wife, husband. Treat her like this weak one. Not weak in strength. Sometimes I said medically and psychologically, who is more weaker? No, let's think, who is more weaker? The man. You see women here, they just say the man. You say, who is more weaker? I love this debate now. Who is more weaker, please? Okay, why did you say it's the man? Okay, you said woman. Why is the man weaker? So by your virtue of support, you are stronger than him. You are support to him, fine. Okay, thank you at the back there. The man is more weaker, and you are a man. Okay, tell us why you think the man is more weaker. A man is saying the man is more weaker. He even said it's in every angle. So it's because of the limit God has to put a helper for him, right? To support that limit to go up. Woman can absorb pressure. Thank you. Now go there. You are speaking with some audacity. I like that. Okay, any other person want to say something? You see, somebody said, a medical person said something. He said, women are actually not as weak. So, and he is a Christian scholar too. And he said, weak is not in the issue of strength or emotions or the physical muscle. But he was speaking as a medical person. He said, do you know that how many men lose blood every month? How many men lose blood every month? But he said a woman, right when she hits 13 and before she gets to what you call menopause, at the most productive age of her life, she loses blood every month. And at childbirth, when you see the blood that goes, I remember when I entered John Kwanu, I told them, I want to see how my first child will come. And I want to say to you, it changed my perspective about women and my wife. They were saying push. And when she do push, I see blood full. Jini mtabaze kare ba akache pastor fita. Jini ze kare, jini. I say, people do accident and blood anache akara jini. This one that is coming about akara wani. They say, calm down. And I tell you, on that day, I knew that women were strong to push. So the weaker vessel is in emotions and understanding how you treat them. That's why I say care and respect. There are consequences for any husband who does not carry the woman as a weaker self by the tenderness that you give. He said your prayers will not be answered. That one gets me scared, Reverend. So permit me to ask, have you treated your wife as a weaker vessel? Could this be the reason why you have some unanswered prayer in your life, sir? That you beat your wife? That you step on her and say, Banzazan kasheki agidan, and then you come back and say, Ya ubengiji kabani contract. Friends, we are living in pain because we have refused to follow biblical injunction. So how are you treating your wife? I asked the married men in Good News, Angulujos, could this be the reason why our prayers are not answered as men? So that means another way that prayers will not be answered in a man's life is in the way he treats his wife. I've done a little bit of my research, my pastor friends, my friends around me, those who are not even in the pastorate, and I've noticed those who treat their wives well. And they may not have big jeeps, but they have peace. And this evening, go back home today. That's my token for you. The last 2 years or 3 years I came here, that was where I stopped on Sunday, if you remember very well. I only gave you the verses, and that's why today I'm continuing from that place. This is the word of God, that your prayers may not be what? Hindered. And that's no wonder you find men today say, Natuna kafin aure wannan mata din kofofi na bude mini. Amma yanzu kaman aure ne ya kulle mun kofofi. Brothers, how are you treating her? Proverbs chapter 14. So I want the men here to deal and go back home and tell yourself the truth. So the way I treat my wife is connected to answered prayers in my life. I plead with you. Care for your wife. I plead with you. Respect her. Your academic level may be more than your own. Your own academic level may be more spiritually, but treat her live with her with understanding. Because women are highly emotional. They talk the way they talk. So God knows how He has wired them. And He's telling you now, you need to understand them to live with. Peter knew that. But Paul may have not lived with a woman. And all he knew is they love her like Christ loved the church. But Peter said, live with them with understanding. Because he has one. I tell you, your wife can get you so irritated sometimes by little acts and little acts done or not yet done. Why do good marriages go bad? That means someone somewhere is not living with his wife with understanding. Proverbs chapter 14 verse 1 and 2. I want the woman to read that one. Now it talks about wise woman. What does she do? She builds her home. And then next, a foolish woman tears it down. It didn't stop here. I like the last phrase. What did you say? With her own hands, not the hands of her friends or her neighbors. So when you see a house, not the husband that is drinking beer. So your husband may be drinking beer, but God says he's not the one that will rush the house. It's you. Please, thank you, ma'am. You can sit down. You want to finish verse 2 for me? Okay, complete it. But let's stop here. Yes, complete it. Those who follow the right path, in the context of verse 1 and 2. So if you say those, and he's speaking about wise women and foolish women, now connect it. Thank you. Now, from that verse, who pulls a house down? Now, let's read now. Who pulls a house down? Women, they don't want to answer. Let me come close to you. Who pulls a house down? And with what will she pull her hands down? But if the woman becomes wise, what happened? So who builds a house? Good news, Angulo. So no matter what you say concerning your husband, God still say, Kine king. You're still looking at the verse, right? She's still looking at the verse. She said, yes. Wise woman. Oh God, I pray, may you give us wise women. In this church, give us wise women. And can I give you an example of a wise woman? Her name is called Abigail. Even when her husband Nabal became foolish, the woman came and that's an example of one wise woman in the Bible. She just came. Her house would have been destroyed that day because David was furious and David was coming to say, I'm going to pull it down. Because of what the woman ran, pick everything. That's wisdom in operation. Pick everything, David. He said, don't forget, you know my husband. You know him. Nabal. Folly is full inside of him. And the woman gave. And the wrath of David and his men calmed down and was averted. Wise woman saved the home. Naomi and Ruth Wise woman giving a counsel. Ruth found Boaz. I'm praying that the Lord God Almighty will help our hearts in the name of Jesus. And as couples of this church, because we are at 1 hour 30 minutes, there are a lot of things to learn. These questions that we have in our hearts, we need a man that lives with a woman, with his wife, with understanding. Good marriages are sustained like a good car you buy. No matter the kind of vehicle you buy, how you love it, the car that you love, you need to maintain the car. Will you buy a Range Rover Sports, and you keep it without fuel? Will you move again? So good marriages must be maintained and must be taken care of. When you neglect maintenance, things get bad. Sir, the first week you got married, and now, the first 2 years, what you are doing for your wife or doing for your husband, are you still doing that? You see, marriage is not about finding Mr. Right. It's about you being the right person to that person. Most often time we forget. We are just looking for, I want Mr. Right. Are you right? I want a very prayerful husband. Are you a prayerful woman? It takes a prayerful wife to keep a prayerful man. The wise woman. And this is my token. That if God, you could raise wise women in Equa Good News, Angologos, they will operate in the wisdom of God, then good marriages will be sustained. God, will you raise for us men, husbands here, who live with their wives with honor, respect, and understanding, and their prayers are answered. In this tough economic time in Nigeria, what kind of atmosphere will you create? Quickly, I want to give you some solutions. There are 5 A's that you need to keep within your marriage. Quickly, I want you to take these 5 A's. So if we say good marriages are becoming bad, then how do we make good marriage sustainable? How do we maintain good marriages? All that happened to your marriage is that you stop doing some things you were doing before. You cannot stop putting fuel in your car and think that your car will move. You must maintain the car. So there's the point of maintenance. One of the pains of marriage, that's why these 5 things I'm giving is to help you. One of the pains in marriage again is that everybody came to marriage with an expectation. I skip all of those sessions because of time. Unmet needs and over expectation. Listen, any woman or man you married came to marriage with expectation. And that is why we are hearing those things. You created an expectation for me. It's like in the next 5 years, we will be leaving that house where, can't you see some people have problem? When you are getting married, the man is in his father's house, staying in his room, and he created you that. Is it not true? And then you give birth to 3 of your children in the same place. That woman expectation has been dashed. She said, by now, the Muna Gidan come, we are still in family house. It's expectation. It's there. Why good marriages go bad is because of needs and expectation again. Unmet needs. Sir, you have not met the emotional, spiritual, and physical needs of the woman. She is frustrated. Unmet needs is the issue of most of our Christian marriages today. Unmet needs, there are needs every day. But what are you doing as a wife to meet the needs of your husband? What are you doing as a husband to meet the needs of your wife? Always make sure you understand the needs of your woman. Understand the needs of your husband. Needs. And when people's needs are not met, they rebel. You're smiling at me. That's it. And I tell you, if we had had time, maybe it was a 3 days thing, we are doing a retreat, you will have taken sincerely, there are sessions here you'll have done, sincerely write the unmet needs. Whether you like it or not, your wife sitting close to you, there are needs that since you get married have not been met. Sometimes my wife will tell me that, and up to now, she just say, hi, bacon. And even without speaking, you have seen a need in the woman. When needs are not met, people get frustrated. A lot of Christian families, there are needs that have not been met. When you were marrying her, you knew, and you said, "Bari magama aureza magain da Allah zai taimake mu." Sir, those needs are not met after 12 years. There's a frustration going on inside. That's why you hear, "You told me that if after marriage you will do this," and you're not speaking about it again. There are men who have left their wives on school. She told him, "I only have a diploma," and they said, "Don't worry." And you know that she loves schooling, going to school. You say, "Aure Allah taimake mu, zaki je ki university." You buy jam. Up till now, she has not written the jam. She's still there with diploma. The woman need is not met. Spiritual needs, physical needs, emotional needs, social needs have not been met. Why good marriages go bad? Unmet needs. Second thing, again, out of this session, is expectation. You have created expectation. The person has high expectation on certain things, and expectations are not met. It brings good marriages to become bad. So how do we handle this in the little 10 minutes again? How do we handle this? Number one, there are 5 A's I want you to carry. 5 A's as a couple. And I pray that by this time next year, a couple will say, "Thank God that we put this thing in practice." Remember, unmet needs and expectation. They are turning good marriages into bad, because up till now, the woman's needs have not been met. Up till now, there's an expectation that both of you have from yourself. The longer and the economic situation has made even things worse. You plan with your wife that after 5 years of marriage, you will buy a plot. You will build a house. Up till now, nothing is happening. There's a frustration that is wailing somewhere. And that's why you must enter marriage knowing that this expectation may not be met by circumstances beyond your control. And that is why the understanding comes. The work he was looking for, he didn't get it. The things he wanted to do. So we must begin as Christian couples to sit down and to understand with each other, to know that, look, economy is not the way it used to be. When we got married 22 years ago, the naira was not like this to the dollar, and we thought we will do this. Look at your life. Hey, Baba fell sick, like me and my wife now. 5 years we are taking care of my mom, and I know you are doing the same thing, Reverend. We pray for you. Since you left our home, we have been praying for you. Ma, thank you very much. We've heard a lot about you. Only the Lord will bless you. We are praying for you. We know we are almost in the same 5 years. Mama is with us. Mommy had to stop. She's supposed to start her PhD, but because Mama is around, how can she start her PhD? So my wife sacrificed 5 years. 5 years. The other day we were talking a few days ago. I begged her. I said, "Sweetie, even if we pretend from our calculation." You know, I went to South Africa, and I was in South Africa, and God said, "When you come back, the next 6 years, don't do anything." And I was supposed to start my PhD then, and God said, "It's not about you now." I was in South Africa to start, and He told me, "No." He said, "You can't be moving ahead, and your wife has the public admin." That's the need. And there in South Africa, God said to me, "Come back." He said, "Go back. The next 6 years is for your wife." And she showed her interest. With her public admin, she said, no, she wants to go to seminary. And I said, "Okay, do a PGD. She said, no, she's not going to do PGD, postgraduate diploma. How can she understand theology more? She's switching. She said she wants to start from year 1. Professor Biwul said, "Bako, no, you're going to waste money." I said, "Don't worry." And in 6 years, she did a BA, did a master's in Christian education, and your whole school. We are like, no, Mrs. Bako, don't allow your wife. Let her push on with the PhD. We got PhD form, she will start. Mama caught stroke. And she said, "Kabata." And so I was speaking with her a few days ago. I said, I can see what has happened. You see, that's the need. Expectation has not been what? So by our calculation, we say we want to finish anything academics, so that when our daughters will be going to school, we have 3 girls. We will not be using the same money that we should put to them, paying school fees for ourselves. So we said the least we will get is an MA. And then by the time before they get far in school, we've all done our doctoral program. And I waited. And she picked up, she's at that level now. And thank God I'm up there. So his next is her. Friends, there must be this understanding. And what are the things that will help you? You have some unmet needs and you are not talking with your wife. You have expectations that the economy has crossed. Sit back and talk. You project further. So how do we get this one done? Number one, the 5 A's. Learn, many of our marriage have missed these things, solutions now. How to help good marriages not to go bad. Number one, learn what is called affection. The first idea is affection. Have affection one to another. Many scriptures are here have written. The Bible says have affection, love one to another. Love is for everyone. How do you show affection to your wife? There are men who just came to, let me say this, a woman told me that, ni gaskiya maganar sex in affection, mun yi da rana baya nuna mun komai, sai da dare ko wani kato ya zo ya dinga masa ma mutum bacci. I say why ne kato kuma, wai mai gidanta mana, gardin banza kawai. Na ce ta ce to saba gaskiya ba da dadi, da rana mutum zai dinga maka posing ko ya gaishe ka ba ka gaishe shi ba yana pose, da dare kawai ka yi na mama sa maka ita taki. And you know what lady told me? He said, "Mutun da baya nuna maka kauna, koma in ya san mai yana so ya maka." That's why we said singles out. He said, "Ko yana so ya nuna maka love ma, ai kuraran sai da dan yamma ya dan siya dan sire ma dan suya, ya dan kawo, ya dan sa a table kafin ya shiga daki. Wannan ko komai baya kawo koi, sai zo gudu koi." Na ce trouble. Wai kuma daga zaran ya gama kawai sai juya kwanta suka ji gor ko ya dan hira da kai, ya dan rike kama hannu babu ko ita ta gaji da wannan sa. Ni ban sani ba, haba a dan nuna is affection. You see, it's women that are laughing at this one. When men just compare wounds to affection. But you see, women can do some affection. I used to tell my wife sometimes, I used to know that she wants something. Now that I'm preaching like this, before I go home, you hear, sweetie, sweetie, anytime I hear at 7 o'clock, they are telling me to bath. That's her own sign that she wants something in the night. Or if I'm going, she don't tell me, sweetie, kake adwa da ifu yo, kake wazi da ifu yo, he said, just tell me, we can maintaining energy. Not me maintaining energy. I didn't know before. Because sometimes I will go and teach and preach. When I come back, she wants to tell you, and so when I am going to preach, so I say, come energy. Because all my excuses, I come back, I am dead tired and I'm sleeping. Affection. A woman is saying, nama, cow. Now, what is your affection? How do you show affection to one another? There must be affection. Have you been affectionate to your wife, to your husband? I tell you, most Christian good marriages are losing affection. The way we talk, it's not all about sex. Do you spend time talking to your wife? Do you hold hands? Affection can be shown in different ways. We've lost it. Oh, we are saying, yara kwe, even women, hey, kabani dala yara kwe, yara kwe, yara kwe. I say, one day yara will grow and leave two of you. They will leave two. I'm telling you, me, I already started planning with them. I say, look, these girls will go, and we have girls. So the tendency of them moving faster is more than the boys. And we are saying these girls will go, so the pain you are creating on each other now, when you become 60 and 70, all these children that you are saying, they will go and leave you. One woman came to me, said her first daughter and her only daughter, because she was actually molested when she was young, so she became a mother early. And she's not married, so she's a single mother. And I saw the way she was so showing her daughter affection. And I called her one day, I said, hey, young lady, the way you have bonded with your daughter too much. Just know that one day, she wants to get married and it's going to hurt you. She said, no, she's the only thing she has in her life. Nothing else. They've struggled in life together. A few months ago, she came back and she was crying to me. The girl is about to finish University of Jos, and boyfriends have started coming, and she's going to say, Mommy, sorry, we are going now, we're done on a date. We are going to come back. She said she cried. She called her. She's like, Kimuhaka, I spent all my life on you, and then you come and abandon me. And I told her that you want to marry her. Some of you now, you are neglecting your spouse in the name of children. When they will walk out on two of you, you'll be shocked. The two of you will have to be left in that big house alone. Project and see the next 10 years. Who will be there with you? Begin to show affection. That even at old age, you can hold your hands. Even at old age, you can laugh and laugh at each other. It's affection that brings that. Sir, do you have affection? Number two, when there's affection, that's why the Bible says, love each other. The Bible keeps talking. We're going to see all of those things tomorrow, like 7 or 8 of them, powerful things that keeps family together. There must be this love. Love each other, love one another. Be willing to open yourself up to allow the other person comes in. Affection, let there be affection. Number two, after affection, let there be appreciation. The second A, appreciation. Let your wife knows that you are giving thanks. Appreciate her. There are different. Appreciate your husband. Appreciation is important. Appreciate one another. You know how to appreciate each other. You know what your wife wants. But every time there must be show of appreciation. If we must keep good marriages working, there must be affection. There must be appreciation. When last did you look at your wife and say thank you for one thing you've noticed without the person telling you? When last did you give something to your wife just to prove your appreciation for taking care of the children? Reverend is already talking to her. But Reverend, well, I will ask you now. There are somewhere I was teaching like this. My wife now, I said to her, who knows the last time? My wife said, babe, can I get an atuna? You shake us, you haven't done the last. And every day I just do something. When I remember, the Lord say, she's been taking care of your mother. Do something for her. Appreciate each other. Friends, it's not about buying a golden diamond ring. You can give your wife a peg here when you are going out. So you see another, she's laughing. Mata, ana mko peg kwa? Wewe. Wato peg da ake mazan Nigeria a kashe wuta ne ko? Ya sa ko? Mai sadaka da. Appreciate. Even Jesus recognized what his disciples were doing. Sir, appreciate your wife. Let me tell you, I'm not selling only a peg. You know how to do it. You can give her a hug and say thank you. Please, friends, the little foxes spoil the vine. Little foxes. I'm not talking about buying a jeep, a car for her. Women, I'm not saying expect big cars. Little things. Appreciate. Big things begin small. I'm telling you today, start with the small things. Now let me ask you a question on how to appreciate each other. Now you can just surprise your wife when you were courting her. What is the thing that she loves most? My wife, she talks about so many things in Bauchi. She say kai sunachin ragadada hanjiligi kuka. So one day I went to preach somewhere and I saw those things. Do you know what I did? I bought all of those those things. She said she wanted hanjeligi, the sumenene, all those things, all of those things, those kind of Northeast people. And she will always talk about, when the guy is abunda abochi. So what I now did, I said, let me appreciate. When I say, yo, akwe abu. She was thinking big abu. And I just brought her. She said, sweetie, now good, sweet memories. And I said, I just want to appreciate you for taking care of all of us. You see, I didn't buy something. And she now, one day she was talking, she told me how Suchi, Tinya, is it Tinya or do you call that thing? And then Lemususu. And I was passing around post office in Jos. And I just finished program in Koki and Tudunwada 1. I think, what was it? So one mama, they were part of the Zumuntama. Babamu, so no, and we are saying, me one that me one. I don't know what this other thing. I said, Oramun, later. I brought it. My wife was happy. Sometimes she sit down, she will tell the girls, I remember the day Daddy just brought this thing. He brought memory for me. Today, I want you to go back to the first time you started courting. What does your wife want? Just buy small and just bring in leather and give her. Start there. Naga Pastor Hon, to you, I see Abubuang. I tell you, when you come, that one you want the light should be turned off. It will be easy. It's easy. Listen to me, most of us Christians are not doing these things. It's not about the big things. The journey of 1,000 kilometers begins with what? If you know how to give us small things, to buy big things will not be a difficulty. You never started. It's like giving tithes. You never given tithe of 100 naira, and you think that when God bless you with 1 million, you will give 100,000? When God give, do you know the tithe of 10 million? Who will tell me quickly? It's 1 million. That's why most of our members are not faithful in tithing. They never knew how to give 100 naira in 1,000 naira. So all of a sudden, you have book a jackpot. Say, Father, in the 1 million in Cow Good News Church. It's a guy, Reverend, 200. Where's the remaining 900,000? It starts small. Start with little thing. Give her a peck. Give her a hug and say thank you. That's what they do. You know what do you do now? What do you do? Appreciate. When was the last time both of you appreciated each other? Do you have appreciation in your marriage? When last did you appreciate your husband or your wife for anything? Number 3, quickly, affirmation. Affirm your wife. Affirmation means what? Speak well about your wife. Speak well about your husband. The things they are doing, stand boldly and say in public, this is my wife. When you actually pastor, they say, pastor is not you, it's all of us. When you comedian, when he sent for but I held that in my head again. He said, idan kun gan pastoci mu ne ekwa ko na kokin ko na irin church in suna so su gabatar da matansu domin matansu ba su da fuska mai kyau, sai yazo ko ya ce domin gudun lokaci ina nan tare da matana tana cikin mutane, gudun lokaci sai wazi. Amma wanda ya sauye matar shi tana da kyau sai tashi ya ce ina tafe da matana yau tana baya, ko zaki tashi a ganki? Wai kuma wanda matansu ba su haɗu sosai ba zai ce domin gudun lokaci matana tana tsakiyar jama'a ina son ce. May God give us the heart to affirm each other. Affirm each other. Stand well and say, this is my wife. You know, the voice, I don't want to do a lot of this. You know, where we get these 5 things, you will see that even in Jesus, the voice came from heaven at the baptism. He said, this is my beloved son, with whom I am well what? Pleased. God was not ashamed to talk about his son. He affirmed it to the hearing of people. Can you affirm your wife? Say, my wife is good in doing catering. My wife is good in doing this thing. Affirm each other. Hey, wife, are you ashamed of your husband in Angwa? Affirm him. One megidana ne kaunete megidana in our sonship. But I think I've seen couples who are even ashamed of talking about each other. May God have mercy. Will you be able to boldly stand and talk about your wife? Affirm it. Affirm good things about your wife in the public sphere. Don't be ashamed. I do a lot of that, and somebody told me that when Ibana was, he said, I'm gonna come matana. It's affirmation. And if she's there, she's happy that this man is not ashamed of talking about me. He's not ashamed of introducing me. There are husbands who are ashamed of introducing their wives to other colleagues because they know that, but why did you marry her? Bring her up and say, this is my wife. Talk with her. How you speak about your wife or your husband is how your friends and your families and your neighbor will accord respect to her. In ka kanin ka na rena maka matanka, to yanda kake magana akan matan ne in ka je gida. In kin ga ana rena miki mijinki kannanki is the way you talk about your husband. Did you talk about your husband that I am the helper of this man? Did you talk about your wife that mataimakiya da dacewa mai dacewa da ubangiji ya bani kenan? Be bold. I do it. People say you like talking too much about your wife. It's encouraging her every day. She knows I'm not ashamed of her. She knows I'm proud of her. So she's willing to do and to identify with me. But sir, when you cannot speak boldly and affirm good things in your wife, we pull them down. Number 4, attention. Do you give each other attention? Good marriages, no matter how they are good, and you don't maintain with attention, it begins to become bad. You know, one of the problems I've been having these 2 years now with my wife is my phone and my computer. She looked at me today and said, "Naga kaman ka aure computer na yanzu fa." You should make me in divorce. And I discovered that. And it's because of the bulk of work I have to do. I'm writing papers here. I'm writing papers here. I have invitation here. I'm traveling here. I'm putting this. And I just discovered that I had that discipline before 2 years ago. I do all my work in the office before I come home. And I had a discipline then. I say, once I get home, laptop must be what? Shut. Phone must be shut. And before I open it again, I make sure they have all gone to bed. But now by 6, I just come and This is really talk to us and look at us. And sometimes my wife will just come and say, remember you have girls. Talk with them and look at them in the face. It's attention, sir. And I just discovered, because my daughter will be talking, I say, yes, yes. So you know what they call me now? Even in the morning prayer, they say, what do you pray? Say, want to pray for daddy? The small one that is 4 years. I don't know whether she said, God is using it. I say, want to pray for daddy? All he knows is preaching, 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 preaching. So help him to be preaching more strong. That's what. And one day God said to me, look at it, it's true. She comes back, where is daddy? Daddy has gone to the program. Daddy is invited here. And I make sure all the invitation where I'm going to, I tell them 2 weeks or 1 month before time. They know I'll be here. Attention. Sir, how many of you talk with your wife like this with your face on the computer? She say, Yara Namfaba Madara. The me kuma. Say me. Kichireba. Let me ask wives, are you happy? Are you happy? That I'm on the computer, I'm talking to you, not looking at your faces? Attention. Please start giving your wife and your husband attention. Number what now? The next one is number 5, accessibility. Be accessible. Let your wife access you. No, you can think that you are giving her attention, but you are not accessible. Accessibility means open up. That anytime your wife wants your attention, wants your affirmation, she can get it. Some of us have gotten to a point as men that our wives and our families, we are not accessible to them again. I'm telling you this out of my life. The work is getting more and more. When I discovered that I'm traveling more, like this month, 2 months, I've just returned from Bauchi for 4 DCC's conference, pastors conference, and I sat there, you are the guest speaker, come. I have to go and spend 5 days in Bauchi. So my daughters are in school. My wife does not have access to me. I travel sometimes. Muna chicken program. You are flying, and sometimes you go to places where there's no network. Can your wife have access to you? Wife, you have business you are doing. Wife, you are pushing your husband away. Remember, a wise woman builds a house. Can we open doors to shut our phones and say, every Wednesday, I will spend 2 hours with my wife and my children. In my home, we have made Friday our family day. If I don't travel, no matter where I am, I close the office by 3:30. And we call it family evening. And what I just do is that if I have money, I buy suya, whether 1,000 or 2,000. And we open it on the table, and we don't take first. It's our children that part first. When the somebody, and they are happy. And we spend time once a week. So Fridays in my home is called family week. So my children close 1:30. They will start saying, Daddy, don't forget today is Friday. Come back home. Friends, if we keep working and look for money, we will lose our families. It has happened to me when I'm telling you. Nikmaba business Nikeba is the work of God. And I'm seeing how it is pulling me away. It's been difficult for me. And my daughters are reminding me. And the eldest one just told me, say, Daddy, did you discover that you are losing Fridays? Ma, you are having a small canteen in wholesale. In Anguldi. You spend kinas where I say the gasafe hariyama. We're going to lose our marriages if we are not careful. Good marriages can become bad. Nobody promised you that good marriages that are not maintained will not go bad. God bless you with a beautiful wife. God bless you with a wonderful husband. Your marriage is 10 years ago was the top of the town. In the church, people make reference to you. But now, currently, you are just hiding. You are losing that good marriage. Will you allow these 5 things to be in your home? Can you sincerely look at your wife and do these 7 things as we close? 1, can both of you learn to say, I am wrong? We did that last time I was here, but I want to remind you again. Can you sincerely look at your wife and say, I am wrong, and look at your husband, admit that you are wrong? That is how you create atmosphere around your marriage. Nobody is Mr. Perfect. You don't know it all. You are human, you can get wrong. I hear ministers of God who just say, since we got married, I've never hurt my wife. I used to tell my wife, I say, Kariani. Some of these Pentecostals, I've seen one, a prominent name I don't want to call. I say, Kariani. Reverend Mkoba, Pastor Hornbach, I say, how can people come and be telling this generation, Karia? He says, since we got married, we have never, in the world TV, a big minister like you talking this. I say, sir, were you even a born again when you were 16 years, when you first got married? I said, no, it wasn't for that career number. I've hurt my wife. I've made my wife to cry. But I say, God, I will never do it. And it's not because we fought. My student friends came from honeymoon. They came from jets because I lost a semester. Me, I followed the process. I took 1 semester off to get married. So my classmate came. And that time we have not these young people now, older people as class. They came. All my classmates came to my house and we sat down. And my wife is not a theologian then. And then we sat down, we started blowing theology. They were telling me all the courses I missed. We were talking, and she's in the midst of almost 20-something big pastors. And she was looking, and the only female, she felt left out. And Amariani de Gaski, and then she went to the room. And me, I just came, hey, and I remember before we got married, my wife said she doesn't want me to shout at her in the public. My wife, if you shout at my wife, you have just hurt her. And it's really in the public. And you see, it's in the public. And I shouted. I said, and I went to the room. One week in my wedding, I made my wife cry. And I was there. And I went into the bedroom. I said, she was crying. I said, anyway, colleagues now. It's not fair. She told me. I'm talking as if she doesn't know what she's going to do. She was in the kitchen trying to prepare some of donuts to bring to them. And I'm shouting, yeah, she felt bad. And she was crying. 1 week, I made my wife cry. And you now tell me that there's nothing? No, please, friends, we will hurt each other. Accept you are wrong, sir. You are not Mr. Perfect. You are a human being. You are living by grace. Grace has kept you. Madam, grace kept you. That's why you must be wise. Sir, that is why you will not do. Live with her with respect and understanding. I made my wife cry the first week of our wedding. And it's not because I beat her. I was not sensitive. And I accepted I am wrong, even up today. Sir, you don't know everything. Ma, you don't know everything. Number 2, anybody that can say I am wrong, it's easy for the person to say I'm sorry. And that is why most of you in your marriage, you cannot say sorry because you are not accepting you are wrong. Learn to accept. Good marriages are sustained by husband and wives who admit they are wrong because they are not angels, they are human beings. They are living by grace through faith in Christ Jesus. And they are not ashamed to confess 1 John 1:9. If we confess our sin, he's faithful and just. Tell your wife, I'm sorry. I'm sorry can never come out until you accept that you are wrong. And when you say to your wife, I am sorry, the 7 magical words I'm giving you now, the 7 powerful words, not magical, 7 powerful words to turn the atmosphere of your marriage into maintaining a good marriage. I am wrong, I am sorry. And the next one, anybody that can do the first 2, the third one is easy to come out. Please forgive me. When was the last time you look at your husband and you say, please forgive me? You know, I'm working on a very powerful book called Road to Marriage. And I pray that the book will come out. Up to now, the book has not come out. I was still working on it. All of these things are inside. I'm taking some chapters of the book I'm writing. This is the whole chapter I'm giving you now, the second part. I am sorry. I'm wrong. You can never say you are sorry until you know you are wrong and admit it. And when you can say, I am sorry, it is easy for you to say, forgive me. I went to a Christian couple's home. The wife called me around 11 a.m. She called her husband from where he was working. I love my husband and everything. But one thing I have with my husband, and I was there, 3 of us, he said he has never opened his mouth to say something to me. Forgive me, Babu. And I'll tell you the next one is the sixth one. Can you say, please forgive me? Sir, you have been holding bitterness and unforgiveness with your wife and your husband. Tun ranar da an zo ɗaukan ki aure. Wai ya ce antinki ya zage ni. You know some guys are like that. Ce ran da mun zo ɗaukan ki an zage abokanina. Ni kuma I will never forget that day. Sir, you are married 22 years. You are still holding what happened. Forgive. And if you can forgive, why? Tell your wife, I need you. Number 4, I need you. I need you. Let your spouse know. Look at him every day in the morning and say, I need you. The next thing, tell her, you are important to me. And then the 6th one, learn to say thank you. When your husband brings 2 mudu of rice, wai da ce na siya mana shinkafa sai kin fita kin ga ya kawo dan leda guda biyu. Me wannan maza irin ka na siyan buhu ka kana siyan mudu biyu. You know, there are times men will buy wrappers. People are picking wrappers in the office, and then you pick one for your wife. Kai ma ka dan zo ka dan ji dadi ranar. Wai ya sweetheart na siya miki zani. Sai ina ne ka siya office? Kawo mu gani. Wannan zani nawa ai maka? Ya fara an cuce ka. A terminus 115. You have discouraged the man. Just say thank you. Now go there. Husband, when your wife cook food and it's sweet, you didn't give her money. You gave her 2,000 and she did a soup of 3,000, 5,000, 5,000. 2,000. Just say, I know this woman have added something. Say thank you. And then the last one, number 7. The atmosphere around your wedding. Do you have I love you? You know, some of you, since you married your wife, you are ashamed to even tell her I love you. This young man, I went to the house. The woman said the only thing she wants is for him to tell her I love you. The man refused. Na zuna a wajen na style all pastoral counseling. Guy ya ce, haba sa, ai inda bana sonta. To me take so ita dalla kai kasa sa ku da kun gano na rikicin mata ne kawai abin da ake kira daga office kenan. She was crying. He said, I just want to hear you say I love you. Ya ki fada har na bar gidan 45 minutes just to open his mouth and say what, and the woman said that's what she just wants. Tired wanda mutum ya baya iya fita ya ce ai bai sai ranar fara ji da ya kawai sa yana nan Allah ya san zuciya da yana. Rise up on your feet as we talk to God in prayer. Rise up on your feet, let's talk to God in prayer. Time has been well spent. I tell you, one day wouldn't have permitted us to do this. The curriculum is so big and large because I'm just giving you a whole entire book I'm writing. And I pray that this year, I'm trusting God that this book will come out. Amen. It's called Creating a Thriving Atmosphere Around Your Marriage. Can you just give God thanks concerning your marriage and say, God, I thank you. Realities and truth may have been open to you. Maybe God showed an area of your life that you are taking for granted. Remember, it's wise women that build houses. Can the women pray and say, God, give me wisdom. Give me wisdom. I don't want to pull my house down, my marriage with my own hands. Lord, give me wisdom. Oh, I don't want to be foolish. Can the women pray and say, God, where I've acted foolishly and my husband, I've pushed my husband to take a wrong decision because of my own step. Because there's a lot of husbands today that they said, look, my wife is nagging and I better stay in the desert than live with her in the house. Oh God, they give me wisdom to close my mouth, to know the words of building, not words of crushing the ego of my wife. Can you pray that prayer, women? God, make me a wise woman. Make me a wise woman. I don't want to be a foolish woman. I want to build my home. I want to build my relationship with my husband. Oh God, raise wise women in Equa Good News and Glue Just. Wise women who will build homes. The strength of the church is in the families, in the home. So women in this church know that you are integral part to the spiritual fervency of this church. Ecclesiastes Rushe. Oh God, make me a wise woman. Let me know when to answer and when not to answer my husband. Let me know when to give and know when not to give. Let me know when to sit and know when to stand. Can you pray? Oh God, give us wise women. Wise women that will be able to maintain good marriages. Every good thing needs maintenance. Lord, we pray for men, husbands who will live with their wives with understanding. They understand that they are emotionally wired and they will not be puncturing their emotions, aggravating their pains. Emotion has to do with joy, laughter, peace. Many Christian women are living in emotional pains because we men don't understand them, and then the repercussion is that our prayers are not answered. Oh God, have mercy upon me. Husband, can you pray, God, give me understanding? My wife, I need to hold her with respect, with care. Oh God, help me, help me, help me.